My Fellow Dragon Horse, The Sea of Ash, by Taiki Nakasone.
About Stutter. Stutter Herrick III is the battle-hardened king of the dragon horses. Wearing his Viking helm and the ring of command, he is the tactical anchor of the brothers. In the Sea of Ash, his leadership is pushed to the breaking point when he is separated from his kin during a violent traversal through the Leviathan. He is the strategist who carries the weight of their survival, a leader who has transitioned from a prince of silence to a sovereign of iron and will. His connection to his brothers is the source of his greatest strength, but in the dark of the Leviathan, he must face his own mortality alone. Chapter 1. The Ash-Choked Horizon. The brothers entered the Sea of Ash, a desolate wasteland where the ground was nothing but gray powder, and the sky was a permanent bruise of purple and black. The air was thick with soot, making every breath a struggle for the dragon horses. As they trekked across the dunes, the ash rose in great, suffocating clouds with every step. "I can't see the horizon," Rainlout coughed, his black wings heavy with layers of falling ash. "The wind is dead, Stutter. There's no lift, no direction. We're walking into a ghost world." Seedlout pounded the ground with his heavy shield to clear a path. "The ground is shifting. It's not just ash. There's something moving beneath the surface. It feels like the earth is breathing." Stutter raised his glowing ring of command, trying to pierce the gloom with a pulse of tactical light. "Stay in a tight diamond formation. Fishrunt, lean on Seedlout if your prosthetic leg gets stuck in the drifts. We don't stop moving until we find the obsidian ridge." Suddenly, the ground beneath them didn't just shift. It roared. A massive, ancient tremor shook the waste, and the ground began to rise into the air, revealing that they had been walking on the back of a buried titan for miles. Chapter 2. The Maw of the Sea. A roar like a collapsing mountain echoed through the wastes. The Ash Leviathan, a creature of myth, surged from beneath the gray drifts. Its mouth was a jagged canyon of serrated teeth and ancient heat. The suction was immense, pulling the very air and ash into its throat. "Fly! Get out of the drift!" Stutter screamed, his voice barely audible over the gale. Rainlout tried to snap his wings open, but the weight of the accumulated ash pinned his feathers down. Seedlout braced his shield, digging his hooves into the rising terrain. But the suction from the Leviathan's intake was like a hurricane. "I can't hold on," Fishrunt yelled, his iron legs sparking as he tried to find traction in the loose, shifting ash. One by one, the dragon horses were swept off their feet. The Leviathan's jaws closed over the landscape, plunging the brothers into a world of darkness and crushing heat. As they tumbled down the creature's massive, ribbed throat, a jagged bone spur caught Stutter's armor, ripping him away from the group. "Seedlout! Rainlout!" Stutter's voice was drowned out by the thunder of the creature's heartbeat before he slammed into a dark, isolated internal chamber, falling into unconsciousness. Chapter 3. Separated in the Dark. In a different part of the Leviathan's gut, the three younger brothers stood up in a pool of digestive sludge. Rainlout ignited his dragonfire, his black scales glistening in the flickering light of his own flame. "Stutter? Stutter!" Rainlout's voice echoed off the walls of flesh and bone, returning only as a hollow vibration. There was no answer. "We have to find him," Fishrunt said, his prosthetic leg hissing as the steam from the acid hit the cold iron. "He has the ring. He has the plan. We're just us without him. We're lost in here." Seedlout stepped forward, his red scales glowing with a protective heat that pushed back the fumes. "No, Stutter trained us to be soldiers, not followers. He's somewhere in here, and while he finds a way out, we find a way to him. Rainlout, scout the upper arteries. Fishrunt, track the vibrations of his armor against the walls. We are dragon horses. We don't wait to be rescued, and we don't leave anyone behind." They began to carve their way through the internal labyrinth, fighting off parasite leeches that infested the Leviathan's innards. Chapter 4. The Internal Siege. Hours passed as the three brothers battled their way toward what they hoped was the Leviathan's core. The heat was becoming unbearable, and the air was thin and metallic. They reached a massive, pulsing valve that glowed with a sickly blue energy, the creature's secondary heart. "If we hit this, it might cough us up," Rainlout suggested, raising his sword. "It's the only way to get out of this belly." "Wait," Fishrunt cautioned, looking at the way the walls were moving. "If we kill it now, we'll be buried inside a mountain of dead meat. We need to cause a reaction, not a death. They fought through a swarm of scavenger beasts that lived within the Leviathan, using a triangle wall formation they had practiced in the wastes. Seedlout smashed the beasts aside with his shield, while Fishrunt used his iron leg to deliver crushing, bone-breaking blows to their carapaces. Rainlout provided the killing strikes from above. They were becoming the leaders Stutter always knew they could be, their movements fluid and deadly as they sought a way to trigger the creature's expulsion reflex. Chapter 5. The Island of Exile. The plan worked. With a series of coordinated strikes to the Leviathan's sensitive nerve clusters, the creature convulsed in a massive, violent heave. Rainlout, Seedlout, and Fishrunt were spat out in a torrent of seawater and ash, hurtling through the air until they crashed onto the sandy shores of a different, unknown island. They scrambled to their feet, gasping for fresh air, their scales covered in grime. "Stutter!" Seedlout roared, looking out at the receding wake of the Leviathan. The sea was empty. There was no sign of their eldest brother. "He didn't come out with us," Fishrunt whispered, his iron leg sinking into the sand. They searched the shoreline for hours, calling his name into the wind. The island was silent, filled with strange, twisted trees and obsidian rocks. They set up a small fire, huddling together in a silence that felt heavier than the ash of the previous wasteland. For the first time, the dragon horses were truly alone, convinced that their king had been lost to the depths of the sea. Chapter 6. The Figure in the Mist. Miles away on the far side of the same island, a lone figure washed up on the shore. Stutter lay motionless on the black sand. His Viking helm cracked and his breathing shallow. The tide licked at his hooves, pulling at his golden bracelet. He was alive, but the journey through the Leviathan's valves had left him battered and unconscious. The ring of command on his finger flickered feebly, casting small pulses of light that died out in the thick sea mist. In the distance, the sound of heavy, rhythmic footsteps approached. It was a steady, intentional walk, the gait of someone who had walked these shores for a long time. Stutter's eyes twitched, but he remained submerged in the dark. The figure stopped beside him, its shadow stretching over the unconscious king. A clawed hand, covered in weathered scales and wrapped in ancient bandages, reached down to touch the cold iron of Stutter's helm. "Another dragon?" a voice whispered, deep and vibrating like the earth itself. The stranger looked at Stutter's wings and the mark on his bracelet. "It has been many lifetimes since the dragon horses walked this world. I did not think your kind still had the blood to survive the Great Maw." The stranger looked toward the horizon where the other three brothers were waiting, a mysterious smile hidden in the shadows of his hood.